Good Wednesday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. Browns players back at work getting ready for the Texans at 1 o'clock Sunday down in Houston. Deshaun Watson will get his first start in a regular season game for the Browns. He may be without one of his better targets from Berea today. David Njoku not practicing due to his knee, and after practice we found out it was not the same knee injury that was initially bothering him. It's a new one, trying to work through it. Not ruling him out for Sunday against the Texans, but certainly pause for concern a little bit. So Texans head coach Lovie Smith, a guy with a defensive background, talked about what they are expecting to see from Deshaun Watson, who hasn't played in almost 2 years.
We're telling our guys we're going to see the best version of Deshaun. And I think you go into every game that way. Have no idea. I mean, he hadn't played for a long period of time, but we hope that there's some rust and all those things. But no, that's not what we're telling. We're telling them that we're showing them the stats. One of the best offenses in the league statistically, adding a great player. So that should say that they're going to be better. That's how we're going into the football game. It's going to be a tough challenge if they're throwing the ball with the receivers that they have. But we know that the easiest thing that there is to do to get a player back into the mix is to hand the ball off to two excellent running backs. That's how we're going into the game.
And with that, let's welcome in G. Bush. He's the host of the Barbershop, 92.3 The Fan, Saturday mornings. Almost had you make it working there pregame as well. Saturday mornings.
Well, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I know you
I do that too.
Yeah. Saturday from 8 until noon. You can also catch him on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. G. Bush, when you look at it the way Lovie Smith describes it, this offense should be even better.
Well, that's what we expected, right? We've been waiting for this for a whole 11 weeks, and I've started these things on my rounds. Whether you hear me on the barbershop or the pregame show or the Cleveland Sports Show, I've been telling people I've just set myself up to drink the Kool-Aid. I'm just going to be unapologetic about it. I think Deshaun Watson for $230 million. I'm going to expect him to be good. I'm going to think that the Browns are going to go 6-0. Now, look, I could be a fool, and I probably am sounding like a fool right now. You're like, what happened to the real G. Bush? Did somebody kidnap him? But here's the thing. Hey, I've rationalized it. I've seen it. I'm like, okay, if I'm the Browns, I look at it this way. Kevin Stefanski is, he's shown that he can get quarterbacks who are subpar or average or mediocre or it's middle of the road to put up some decent numbers just by the way he calls a game. Now I say, okay, well, Deshaun Watson has been practicing. Granted, it's not anything he's going to see as far as his game speed, but he still has been practicing, still been throwing the football. So I say, okay, well, what does that look like with a couple years off? And Lovie Smith said it best. They can still run the ball. Nick Chubb is still going to be a guy that you got to watch out for. But the only difference is now that Nick Chubb is able to run the ball, I don't think you can afford to put 9 guys in the box anymore. I think you have to now pick a poison. Whether or not you're going to be able to throw the ball with Deshaun Watson for 400 yards tomorrow, I don't think that's possible. But is it crazy to say he could throw for 250 and a couple touchdowns? No. I've seen Stefanski's offense do that with lesser talent. So for me, I also had to take this into consideration. I think Deshaun Watson is going to be highly motivated. There's a lot of people that say, there's going to be a hostile environment. There's going to be a lot of people in attendance, and especially some special guests that Mr. Busby has attending the game. Deshaun Watson will be highly motivated to play his best football. He might want to try to. He might be amped up and try to, do too much. He may throw an interception or run around or get kind of happy feet in the pocket. But I think that'll wear down after a half. I think he has a half, maybe 3/4 of rust, and you should still see the plays that pop here and there of the real Deshaun Watson. I expect Deshaun Watson to play well in this game. Nothing that's going to be earth-shattering, but I do expect the Browns to win the game and Deshaun Watson to show people why it is, at least in small samples, why they went out and made the investment they did.
Yeah, I would agree. And when you're talking about rust, it might not be consistent, but I think you put it best. There's going to be some plays that pop. The big plays, that's not consistent. That's the talent that he brings. Nick Chubb talked about the return of Deshaun Watson.
I mean, we're all excited. We've all waited for a long time for him to come back. But, it's the same thing. We got to go out there, got to work. Can't get too distracted by anything and keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah, and G. Bush, let me translate. How badly does the defense want to put an extra guy in the box against this guy?
See, now we're getting to it. You see Nick Chubb is up there. He's speaking, and he's even, I don't know if I could say he was happy up there. He didn't give us nothing. I could just feel the energy level, right? He like, oh, yeah, go ahead. See Miami and all the Buffalo, go ahead and creep them little linebackers up here. Go ahead and creep them little safeties you got up here in the box. All that little cute defense you was running. Run that now. See, now it's a different type ball game because there's a lot of things that you're going to see unlocked for the Cleveland Browns. You got the RPO game, and trust me, here's the thing. Kareem Hunt is one of the best backs in the game in terms of running the RPOs. Go back and watch those tapes with Kansas City and him and Patrick Mahomes. Now you got read options available. Big naked bootleg is on the table. Lots of the play action, hard sell, zone right, come back left. The throwbacks are all there. Now, if you're the backside defensive end, can you afford to run down the line of scrimmage, hell-bent on tackling Kareem Hunt or Nick Chubb? No, because you got to check backside. You have a threat now. So that holds the backside. That holds the backside defensive tackle or defensive end. And he has to check all of that stuff. So that's one less guy in the box. Hey, that linebacker. Hey, where we're going to run a read option and RPO, can you afford to fly out of there and tackle, some guys? Can you fly out of there and just go for the run? No, because you know what's coming. The slant route to Donovan Peoples-Jones is right behind it off the RPO action. So now you potentially got two guys who can't just afford to go up and tackle Nick Chubb and sell out. So these are all different things. As you can tell, I think a lot of Browns fans will be excited just to see new formations, just to see new wrinkles, just to see. Welcome to the 21st century, Browns fans. No longer do you have to sit and coach. You are in first class now. How does it feel?
All right, let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
What do you guys think about Deshaun Watson's return this Sunday? How do you think he's going to do against his former team? I still think we should fire Joe Woods. It is unacceptable. He is terrible. He wasn't terrible in 2020 or 2019. I don't get it. It was like he got rid of it. That's my take on the Browns.
All right, as always, appreciate all the voicemails. G. Bush, the Texans are not a good football team, so they better play well against them. And I just want to see a different style of defense. I'm kind of done with the style of defense we're seeing.
Yeah. Listen, I want to throw this out there to all the people to watch the games. There's going to be a little uptick in the energy. There may be an uptick in the way the defense moves around a little bit, but please don't be fooled. Please, that is fool's gold. I believe that on the periodic table, that's iron pyrite. Yeah, it's fool's gold. Do not. These defensive tackles haven't gotten better. There's going to be a little love overflow because the offense is going to look great. But by the way, my good man on the line of Truth and Reason has it correctly. Joe Woods, no. You may, see yourself out in a nice fashion. I think if you play well these last couple games and you don't get gashed on the ground, I think you may be able to fool somebody else into giving you a job as a defensive coordinator. That may be truly possible. But like the caller says, I'm ready to move on. I need a different style of defense because now if I do have Deshaun Watson and he gets to where he wants to be, that means I could do a lot of things offensively. And now I have the running game that if I get to lead, you're done. You're done. If I get to lead, now we can play from two different standpoints, when we're ahead or when we're behind. So now I need a defense that is concentrating on taking the ball away, pressuring the offense, and saying, hey, look, y'all get down 21, it's over for you guys. I don't need guys sitting back playing zone, letting guys walk up and down the field, and it becomes a shootout every single game. I think he's correct. I think Joe Woods, this is his last year. Like I said before, I don't think Kevin Stefanski, now that Deshaun Watson is here, he's not going to do that. That's just not his MO. He's not a guy that's going to fire you in the middle of the year. I think he's a classy dude, and he wants to give each of his coaches an opportunity to stick or get better in hopes of getting a job in another place. Because if you fire him in the middle of the season, that kind of puts a hamper on his opportunity to get a job elsewhere. So that's not going to happen.
Well, Jacoby Brissett ends up 4-7 as a starter. Not his fault. A couple of those losses could have been wins if the defense didn't give it up. Let's listen in. Jacoby Brissett mic'd up against the Buccaneers.
They give it off to Hunt. He reverses it to Schwartz. He's wide open. 25, 20 with Brissett blocking. 10, 5, touchdown, Anthony Schwartz.
Here we go, fellas. 2 minutes. Let's go. One play at a time. Plenty of time.
From the 12, back to pass. Here's Brissett looking, firing, end zone. Oh, what a catch by Njoku! Touchdown!
Yeah! Here we go, fellas. Hey, everybody. Hey, listen. Hey, this is about us, right? This has been about us the whole time. One play at a time. Let's go punch this in. 180, set. Yes! Yes! Yeah! Let's go! Let's go! Yeah! Good throw there, big guy. Appreciate you. Playing great. Love you, bro. Talk to you after. Yep.
And again, G. Bush, hard not to like that guy and respect what he did.
You know what, man? I don't know why that this does this to me, man. The game is so it's so good to me that sometimes I just get emotional. Like when I hear guys going out there, I'm like, why am I emotional over here? I ain't cutting no onions or something. What's going on? I'm sure. But when you just see dudes out there, putting that helmet on and just going out there and being out there with their guys and coming back from behind, bro, it just gives you, that's the best part of the game. Like, that's the part that whenever you ask any former player at any part, would you do it all over again? And you say, heck yeah, you do it all over again, man. Just to see the excitement on these guys' face, especially his face, when people didn't expect him to be doing nothing. People didn't expect him to be anybody special. They said they wanted Jimmy Garoppolo. We talked about it all the time. And this guy, he goes out there, and for him to be able to come from being under a guy like Tom Brady to getting an opportunity to play and joust and duel with Tom Brady, to making an improbable comeback, a last-second touchdown, and to see him jump up and smack Kevin Stefanski on the face and chest. Kevin was like, "Now listen, Jacoby, this is not what we really do. This is not. Maybe we can do this in the locker room. This is not. I'm ashamed of this right now." But it's a beautiful thing to see, man. And I think he made himself some money. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you what. There's about 7-8 teams out there that can use a guy that got that leadership, that got that type of that thing. And I think he's going to at least compete for a job somewhere. And I'm just happy for him, man, as a person and a quarterback and a dude who, was put in a tough position, but it came out on top. That's what the game is all about.
G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, we'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, talk a little bit more about Deshaun Watson's first start with Browns. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
We continue talking Browns with G. Bush from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, as well as 92.3 The Fans, The Barbershop. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, I just have a quick question for you about the whole Deshaun Watson return. I saw the show yesterday where you guys had pointed out that the attorney for all them women is going to have a suite, and he's got 10 of the women coming to the game, and they said that the media was going to be all over and wanting to talk to them. I thought part of the settlement was that they signed an agreement where they couldn't talk about nothing. Was that part of the agreement? Because if so, then what do they mean that the media is going to be questioning or asking them questions? Because signing that means they can't talk about nothing, right? I'm just asking because I'm curious. I just want to hear your thoughts and opinions. Go Browns. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. G. Bush, he's referring to an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. It wasn't made public what is or isn't in that, but you can be sure Rusty Hardin will be monitoring the media, and if that is violated, Deshaun will get some of his money back if they talk and they signed an NDA.
Yeah, it's just, I think there is some stuff where both sides can't talk about the what exactly the terms of the settlement is. And talking to some of the people over, some of the legal people that, are over at WKYC, just off the record, a lot of people say they do that so that you don't disclose an amount and say, well, I only gave them $10,000 a piece. So it diminishes what the claims are a little bit. If you say, I just paid the little $10,000, just get them out of the way. That has happened in the past in terms of other people in situations like that when you have out-of-court settlements. So they do an NDA so both sides can't really speak on it. And so both sides can move forward and, continue on with their lives. Some want to do it in anonymity and others want to move past it if they're accused of certain things. I just, for me, I just find it weird. It's strange to me. Most people, we talked about this situation and we talk about people reliving trauma, right? People who have been victimized of different things. I wouldn't be a person that wanted to see somebody who had done some horrific things allegedly to me. I wouldn't want to go to a game and I wouldn't be in no position that I want to sit in the press box. That's just me. Like, I don't know. They have a right to do whatever they want. It's America. They can go anywhere they want. They can watch the game at home television. But I do think, personally, I think for Busby, he could have done without this. The move is what it is. It looks like it's for publicity to keep it out there. But at the end of the day, I just think that they could have did a little better with that. Support groups, therapy, a lot of different other things to support one another, other than going to the first game of your alleged accuser. To me, I wouldn't have done it if I was an attorney. But like I said, I'm not an attorney for a reason. I talk about sports because some of these gray area stuff, I'm like, I couldn't do it as just what my compass is.
Yeah, it's a little bizarre. All right, let's listen. This is Keyshawn Johnson from KJM on ESPN about what they expect from Deshaun Watson when he comes back.
Well, I expect for him to struggle at times. He's got to get acclimated to the speed of the game again. He's been away from it for a year and a half or so from live action. So I expect for him to struggle and some balls to come out looking wobbly at times. But in the end, I think he's going to wind up being Deshaun Watson that we saw a year and a half ago, his last game. That's the guy we're going to see. The Kansas City playoff game, that's the guy we're going to see at some point in time before the end of this year.
Yeah, and G. Bush, along those lines, take a look at this. So Deshaun Watson is the only player in NFL history. So the only player in NFL history to complete 70% of his passes, throw for at least 4,500 yards, and fewer than 10 touchdowns in the same season. That was that 2020 season. Now, The Texans weren't very good, but that was a really good season. And this is CBS Sports, NFL on CBS. Their quarterback rankings for Week 13. And they've got Mahomes 1, Hurts 2, Burrow 3, and Deshaun Watson, who hasn't played in almost 2 years, ranked at 15. So in the top half, even though he hasn't played at game speed in almost 2.5 years. A lot to digest there, but that's how good this guy is.
Yeah, I think and here's the thing. You know, he'll probably have to answer a lot of questions week one. Let me tell you what he won't have to answer. People in Cleveland don't really understand this right now until they get a hold of it. A lot of people's not watching Houston Texans games unless you're a football junkie or you don't sleep. Like some people in the media, like you won't know exactly how good this guy is. But trust me, trust and believe, there are going to be plays he makes where Cleveland Browns Twitter, Cleveland Browns YouTube, Cleveland Browns in general community go up in an uproar because, frankly, you've never seen that. Frankly, even that, you got to think about it. In my lifetime, you say who's the best quarterback ever to play, and I would say I wasn't there to see Brian Sipe in '81. I'm 41. Best quarterback I seen for the Browns was Bernie, right? And when Bernie tells you, as I'm sitting up with him, I had an opportunity to go out to eat with him the other day. He says, I'm going to tell you what, G. Bush, as smart as this kid is, as intelligent as he is, and as athletic as he is, the way he sees the game is different. Like there's some stuff where I get him on the board and he talking through the game of football. It's just different. And I said, yeah. And he said, put that with that athletic ability and the fact that he has a solid offensive line. He has an elite running back that is probably one of the most gifted running backs in the league, or generational gifted in Nick Chubb. You have a precision route runner in Amari Cooper. Up and young coming guys, and one of the most athletic tight ends in David Njoku. Now he won like 4 games with that team in Houston. They didn't have none of this. They didn't have the pieces, parts, all of that other stuff here that they got in Cleveland. At some point, you're right. He's going to show why they gave up 3 draft picks, and people will slowly but surely become more excited about what the upside of this team is. Not only these last 6 games, but moving forward.
G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, we'll look a little bit at the defensive side of the ball. We'll continue to talk to Deshaun Watson, getting ready to make his first start against his former team. Sports for CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with G. Bush from 92.3 The Fans, The Barbershop, as well as the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, Browns pregame show as well. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Dave, the 2022 Cleveland Browns. The season started with high expectation. On paper, it looked like we had a roster that was ready for playoff football. The reality set in instantly because of disappointing play, effort, discipline, and leadership by some players. Also, the major disappointment of a coaching staff that, again, did not have the team ready and prepared to play championship quality football, starting with Game 1, has now led us to this point of the season. The reality of being 4-7, we must go 6-0 the rest of the season. Yes, we do have Deshaun Watson back, but in my opinion, the fate of this season falls heavy on the part of the roster we relied most, the offensive line. They must protect a quarterback that has not played in 2 years, who has the pressure of the world on him because of the personal problems and the fate of a team relying on him to perform at a high standard. If I were the next 2 or 3 opponents, I would design my defensive scheme to put the most pressure on the Cleveland offensive line, which will result in putting the most pressure on Deshaun Watson and see how he can handle that pressure. And the results will determine our fate the rest of this season.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. G. Bush, I'm one of those guys that doesn't sleep a lot, so I've watched a lot of Texans games with Deshaun Watson over the past couple of weeks. He sees the field quickly and processes things quickly. He diagnoses what a defense is doing really quickly. So if you come after him, it sounds like a good idea. I think Kevin Stefanski and the Browns offense would take that in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, that's what. Once again, I think slowly but surely we will find out that he has an extra set of traits out there. I'm a big Marvel fan, right? I'm a big fan of Marvel and how they do things in comic books, and you know they call people, they call them Omega level mutants, right? Omega level. These are the people who are like Magneto. They control like iron. They have telepathy. They can regenerate. They control the weather. That when you got all of these things, and it's basically saying you're overpowered. And when you got a guy like Deshaun Watson, one thing that you have is so you meaning to tell me he's super intelligent, and he diagnoses and makes quick decisions. He's very accurate, so he throws the ball on time. He's accurate. The ball is where it needs to go, and that means the receiver can catch and run after the catch. He's also a person who has really good arm strength. That means the deep ball is available to him. He can do lots of things with the deep ball. He can get the ball out to your speed receivers, throw it over the top. A lot of quarterbacks can be accurate, but don't have the level of what I would say would be the arm strength to get it there. And then there's the next two things. It's called the intangibles, which is, do people rally around you? Do people support you? Do people really kick up their play? Do you make people better? He's shown that he's done that. And then finally, it's called the improvisation, the elusiveness. When the play breaks down in route 1, route 2, route 3 aren't there, can you make a play with your feet or extend plays to throw the football to get big plays down the field? He has all 5 of those, making him an Omega level NFL quarterback. There's only a couple of those guys. Josh Allen is there. Patrick Mahomes is in there. I could think Justin Herbert, you throw him in there. But other than that, in their prime, there's very few guys who can do what he can do. So that means, they can come after him, but they should do it at their own peril if they choose to.
Yeah, I kind of think the Browns offense will take that because he can beat you with diagnosing and his feet if you want to come after him. Those are two things that, this is also really interesting. We haven't talked enough about the job Martin Emerson has done. And again, we don't want to put rookies in the Hall of Fame or any of that kind of stuff, but he's forced 10 incompletions this season. Only 3 cornerbacks in the entire NFL have done more. And I'll say it again, it's what I've said about a lot of the younger guys. The more I see of this guy on the field, the more I want to see this young guy on the field.
Man, right now, listen, I don't want to be hyperbole guy, but this dude he's the best corner we got moving right now. I mean, he doesn't have the top end speed maybe that of a Ward. He may not have the quick change of position and motion that Newsome has, but what he has is this guy can just play. Darrelle Revis wasn't no dude that was faster than everybody. Darrelle Revis didn't even have the body type of some of the newer guys like Jalen Ramsey. Darrelle Revis didn't have the top end speed to run with a Randy Moss. But here's the problem. Darrelle Revis just knew how to play the game. And when you're a cornerback, there's 2 things you can't teach. We talked about a playmaker being a guy like a quarterback that can just do what he wants to and improvise and has all these other talents that you can do even if you do get pressure on him. It's the same thing with pass rushers. You got a pass rusher that just know how to rush the passer. They got counter moves. The counter moves aren't even forced. They feel it. Oh, you're overcompensated. I'm going underneath. Up, you listen. You're overextended. Your head and equilibrium is over your center of your gravity. I'm push pulling you. Same thing with corners. The way he shut down Mike Evans, it was clinic work. I mean, we can run clinic tape off that. I mean, just the way that he was physical at the point of attack, he looks different because we play a lot of off-zone coverage. And even when he's in off-zone coverage, I don't know if somebody's telling him to run his own stuff, but it does not seem like he's doing his own. I'm like, is he playing cover 2 or man? I don't know, because he's next to him. I like it. He can test the football. He goes up. He has good awareness. And I knew he was going to be all right when he took that football. When he stashed up that football in the preseason, I said, I ain't never seen – when last time you seen a Browns defensive back do that? I just haven't. So, to me, what a steal. We talk about Andrew Bear a lot. I give you a lot of heck for them defensive tackles, but I ain't going to lie. You hit a home run on Emerson so far.
Yeah, and again, we want to see the development. You don't want to say, all right, he's a finished product, first-year guy. But man, the more I see him on the field, the more I want to see him out on that field, without question. Here's another guy, and you mentioned edge rushers. Take a look at this. Pro Football Focus, the pass rush grades. Myles Garrett, if this was like a class, everybody's upset with him because he's reshaping that bell curve. 93.7, significantly higher than Chris Jones, number 2, Dexter Lawrence, 3, and Micah Parsons, number 4. Myles Garrett's somebody that takes some heat from the fan base because, is he doing it at big time? He certainly showed up against the Buccaneers in the fourth quarter and in overtime, and he's pretty good.
Quiet as kept, man. We do this a lot, man. We do this if you're the best player and you play in Cleveland, trust me. Like, you go back and chart those players, man. Remember them games LeBron used to play, and they would be mad that he would throw the ball to the right person? But LeBron, you should have shot that. I don't want Sasha Pavlovich shooting it. You should be shooting with 3 people on you. He's like, all right, well, look, cool. He passing the ball to Boobie Gibson. But I know Boobie was hot, but I want you to take the ball at the basket. And I'm like, okay, well, look, man, I mean, what do you want him to do? He's getting 39 and 8, bro. What do you want? Myles Garrett is the same way. Like, he does it in such a way where it's almost like the Wilt Chamberlain thing. Like, he flipped his Porsche multiple times. Like I still look at the wreckage and be like, that man is playing football. Do you know how many people would be in wheelchairs or not even here? This dude not only did that, he came back and was playing, and within a couple weeks, and he still has double-digit sacks, and he still has pressures, and his PFF grade, he does it so easy that people almost want PFF to go away because they don't know what they're looking at. Their eyes are telling them he's not doing nothing, but when the PFF grades come out, it's like cognitive dissonance. They're like, but hold on. I tell myself he didn't do anything, but why is it every time these grades come out, he's the highest graded defensive player, not only on his team, not only on your conference, but probably in the league? It just messes you up a little bit. But it just goes to show you how fast people get rid of the ball when he's playing. And going back to Joe Woods, just think if they would move him around a little bit. Just think if they would be like, hey, can you and Clowney just line up outside and just do something? Like, can you imagine if they just would, put him some different places? He's doing that when everybody knows where he's going to be at, and they double and triple team him. He still gets a 93% pass grade, which is ridiculous.
G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. We'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Look a little closer at the Browns-Texans matchup. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with G. Bush from Browns pregame show, as well as 92.3 The Fans, The Barbershop, and the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, love the show. Just have a quick comment. Everybody's saying, oh, no, it's impossible to win 6 or 7 games in a row for the NFL, blah, blah, blah. I just want to remind everybody, in 2021, the Dolphins won 7 straight games. When they started, I think they started like 2-7 or 1-7 or something like that. They started pretty bad, but they did reel off 7 straight wins under Brian Flores. So it's not impossible. Go Browns.
Yeah, without question. G. Bush, and to be fair, the schedule for the last six is not as tough as the previous 6 have been.
Yeah, man. Like I said, man, anybody want to join that bandwagon? I got a nice tall glass of Kool-Aid to drink, right? You can the 6-0 Kool-Aid drinkers are here in the building. I'm all for it, man. I take a look at it this way. It has to bounce our way one way. Look at it. 99% chance that we beat the Jets. Guess what happens? We didn't beat the Jets. There's always we talk about the improbable things that happen to the Cleveland Browns. So yeah, I mean, is it likely to happen that they go 6-0? No. Is it probable that they go 6-0? No. It's hard to win 2 games in a row in the league, and we still need to work on that with the Houston Texans. But if you ask me, is it out of the realm of possibility? No, it's not, because my expectation level for what the Cleveland Browns are with Deshaun Watson is different. I feel everybody has to step their game up. I think Stefanski should be stepping his game up. And for the first time, I think we might be utilizing some of the talent that we have. I think for the first time, having a quarterback that with that level of cachet, when they're doing game plans and they say, hey, what do you like on the first 5 plays? Sometimes no disrespect to Jacoby Brissett, but sometimes Stefanski not asking him what he think. He called that play in on that sheet and say, zip right 22 sweep jet pass. And that's all you going to get. There ain't no audible in. That's just what we call it. But guess what? Now you got a quarterback that maybe on that Monday, he says, what do you like on 3rd and long? What do you like, plus 10 over the 50-yard line is 3rd and 6. What do you like here? And now we get an opportunity for them to say, well, listen, can we get a little something quick to Kareem Hunt? Maybe we run a – the Browns don't even have things in their playbook. Have you ever seen the Browns execute a draw play? We don't draw. It's not even in the – it's just not there. I ain't seen a deep post in years. That route don't exist. Go find it in the last 10 years. There's certain things we got to unlock. You got to – it's like a video game. You got to beat the boss and the character, and then when you unlock a board, you get a special weapon, and you get to use that the next game. That's the way the Cleveland Browns are. We got a whole area of the field that's opening up because, guess what? You got a guy like Deshaun Watson. Now, does that lead to 6 wins? Who knows? But I will say this. It does lead to a lot more viewers, and I think watch. You know, on Sports4CLE. What Monday to get a win against the Texans? The numbers look pretty good.
You know it.
Numbers look pretty good.
I agree. Here's the other thing. So take a look at this. John McClain is a former Texans beat reporter. He still covers the NFL. First half of their last 2 losses to Washington and Miami, the team the Browns are playing has been outscored 50-0, outgained 533-37. They've had 4 first downs to 33, and they were 1 of 12 on 3rd downs. Never seen such offensive ineptness in first half of back-to-back games. That's the team that the Browns are going into, so this defense better get after it.
And this is the whole thing has been, I was listening to Ross Tucker. He was on 92.3 The Fan, and I think he was on with the afternoon drive, Nick Wilson and Dustin Fox. And he said, there's been a lot said in Houston about them being a tough, hostile environment for Deshaun Watson. And he just kind of broke down some of the little stuff you talked about there. He said the Houston Texans in the building, they are not sitting here thinking about this about to be the Deshaun Watson vindication and revenge game. He's like, they got major holes. They don't know what they're doing at quarterback. Their offenses looked horrible. Lovie Smith is on the hot seat. And these guys are just trying to figure out a way to keep it and hold together to the end of the offseason. And if they have the right pieces and parts in their coaching staff and their front office to say, look, this is who we need to make those picks, because they do got picks. They got their pick. They're going to probably be number 1 pick. They got the Browns pick. They're hoping that the Browns falter down the backstretch so that can be another top 5 pick that goes from the Deshaun Watson trade. So they got their own stuff to worry about. Will it be loud for a while? Sure. Will he probably get booed when he has the ball? Sure. But the reality of it is this. They still got Myles Garrett. They still got Nick Chubb. They still have Amari Cooper. Those guys are performing at a high level regardless of when he was here or not. All he's going to do is make those players better. I think this game, to me, is a game where the Cleveland Browns can get healthy. And it just keeps building that hope because now you win 2 games in a row. One is against Tom Brady. We'll take that. Another one is in a revenge game on national TV. We'll take that. And now you can take those building blocks. And now the defense feels like, hey, let's leave it all out there, man. We ain't got nothing to lose. Let's blitz. Let's be aggressive because we got a guy on the offensive side of football that can get us some points and bring us back from behind.
So the Texans quarterback who will get the start is Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen played college football with Myles Garrett. Take a listen to Kyle Allen's remembrances of Myles Garrett from back in the day.
I mean, I just remember his picture from high school with him running around. I mean, I think everyone's seen it, but it's him looking like he does now, and then a bunch of his high school teammates. He looks like he's 30 years older than them, you know. But, I mean, he's a freak. He's a good dude. I mean, he was the best player on our team then. He's probably one of the best players in the league now. Yeah, I played with Myles in college, so I know firsthand how good he is, and he's only gotten better since then. So the edge rushers are obviously really good. The defense is they got a lot of stars over there. They got a lot of good players. I think, you know, they pose a good challenge for us just like last week. So, you know, we're going to work through it and get a plan together and get ready for them.
If you could speak to Myles Garrett, what would you tell him now?
Be nice to me.
Wise man. Take some pity on your old college teammate.
You want no parts of that. He had an opportunity to. He said, nah, man, I just, you know, good guy. Hey, please, don't do me dirty. Don't do me dirty. Yeah, this defense, listen, they're going to have, you know, the defensive tackles are what they are, right? You're not going to be able to upgrade them now. But there's a few pieces and parts they do have that guys can't still block. Still can't block Myles Garrett. It's just, you know, I think now you'll start to see guys settle in a little more, right? A lot of what we watch with Myles Garrett and why people want to make plays and stuff like that is because, you know, you don't have the focal part on your offense. Most likely your quarterback takes all the heat. He takes all of the questions. He's available. And, you know, you don't have that guy. So now that slides down the spotlight to guys like your best offensive player, which happens to be Nick Chubb and Amari Cooper. And if you've heard, I haven't heard them utter any words. I don't know if they're verbal. I think they write the words and it's in like bubble captions. They don't say anything. So then it leaves Myles Garrett. So Myles Garrett gets all of the questions, all of the different stuff that goes on. I think that'll be dissipated a little bit. And I think he'll play more free. I think the Browns will play more free. Not saying that they're going to be world beaters or anything. Maybe Joe Woods, he coaches a little more free, but I think Myles Garrett will be fine. I think the Browns will be fine this game. I think it all comes down to whether people are going to still drink this Kool-Aid is the AFC North games. We'll know if the Browns are really feeling themselves in the Baltimore game and then at Cincinnati. That's where the rubber hits the road because then you're asking Deshaun Watson to get his first taste of that division play, and we get to see this thing that's going to happen for a long time in the AFC North. Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, and now you have Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, and they're going to duke it out for the next foreseeable future.
G. Bush, 92.3 The Fan, as well as the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, as always. Appreciate the time, insight, great stuff, G. Bush.
As always, appreciate you.
All right, G. Bush, make sure you check him out. 92.3 The Fan's The Barbershop, as well as Browns pregame. You can catch him on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We continue talking Browns. Ashley Bastock, Browns beat reporter. Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Straight ahead. Stay with us.
Come back to Go Forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Yeah, hi, this is Ron from Cleveland, calling in to just comment on a few things I've seen on your show here recently. The the Chris Sims statement. It's a good thing for the NFL that they have other good games on, so no one will watch the Browns and Deshaun Watson. Give me a break. Has this guy not paid the price yet for a bunch of women with no proof other than he said, she said? Millions of dollars, sit out a whole season 1 year, give up 11 games the next year? Well, what do they want? They want to cut off one of his hands, maybe chop his toes off of one foot so he's not fast anymore? For God's sake, let it go. He sounded like a little crybaby little girl, which he pretty much played like in his short and illustrious career. His dad was the only one in the family that had any talent. Chris, you failed as a football player. You failed as an announcer. Find something else to do in life that's constructive and people want to hear. Sorry for the rant. Love the Browns. Get them, Deshaun. Stick it right to them, bud.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Let's welcome in Ashley Bastock, Browns beat reporter from Plaindale at cleveland.com. Ashley, he was on a little bit of a roll. And again, I get Browns fan sentiment, but I think nationally people won't get over it with Deshaun for a little bit. It'll take them a little bit longer than it will Browns fans.
I think so too, and I think we talked about this on our Orange and Brown Talk podcast that just got released this morning. I think some of it is a lot of people, especially nationally, who aren't Browns fans. I think there are a segment of the Browns fans who have decided how they feel about Deshaun Watson one way or the other, right? There's a segment of fans who are not happy with this move, given the sexual misconduct allegations he faced. There are a section of fans who want to keep things about football, and maybe those people aren't going to easily change their minds. But I do think there's a segment of people who would change their mind about Deshaun Watson if he can do things like be active in the community, if he shows genuine remorse for this situation that he was involved in, because I think a lot of the feelings around the bad feelings towards him revolve around the fact that a lot of people feel like that remorse hasn't really been there. Of course, I think everyone thinks about the pregame ahead of that preseason game against Jacksonville on the broadcast when it seemed like he was maybe apologizing. And then, of course, when he talked to us in August after the suspension was announced, it was kind of viewed widely as him walking that back. Now, I don't know if that original quote unquote apology was that strong in the first place to even be walked back, but I do think we haven't necessarily gotten that remorse from him, even that, hey, like, I'm sorry, I understand I shouldn't have put myself in this position, anything along those lines. So I think until that happens, he's not really going to make inroads and change his mind. And I've said all along, I think this is something that it's not impossible to do, right? I'm always really careful. I don't like to compare his situation to any other like legal situation or ethical situation that past NFL players have gotten into. But I think it's not impossible to get that goodwill back, but you really have to be willing to do the work off the field, and it's going to take a long time. It could take years, I think, for that really to come back.
Yeah, and again, it's you're right. It's not happening overnight, without question. And again, it's something you'll have to monitor. This is kind of interesting. I know this is also from Orange and Brown Talk podcast. What do you think's at stake for Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, and the others with Deshaun's return?
Yeah, it's definitely really interesting. I for one think that Kevin Stefanski, regardless of what happens over these next handful of games with Deshaun Watson, that this is not like a make or break year for him in the sense that his job is on the line. And I don't think that about Andrew Berry either. I think that the Browns, are very confident with this regime that they have currently. I really think what's important over this last stretch of games is going to be for Kevin Stefanski to learn how to call games for Deshaun Watson, to prove that he is the guy to be the play caller on this team, that his offense can suit Deshaun Watson. And then for Andrew Berry, I think it's about figuring out what else Deshaun Watson really needs around him and how they need to beef up this team, where they need to beef it up. What areas they can improve on in terms of the draft or free agency or anything like that. Who do they need to prioritize in getting back or getting extended? Everything along those lines. And I know we also brought up the Haslams, and obviously I think that the stake for them is a little bit different in the sense that owners, can't quote unquote lose their jobs, right? And it's not like they're going to sell the team based on what happens over these next 6 games or anything. But I do think, their reputation among the fan base, which has kind of ebbed and flowed over the years, that's certainly at stake. But I think that's more of a longer term thing almost. And and whether or not this, historic contract that the Browns gave Deshaun Watson, if it's going to work out for him here, if it's going to end with a Super Bowl for Cleveland. So some of these things that are at stake are short term, but there's also those longer term things that are at stake for different parties here, I think.
The other thing to keep in mind about the contract, the NFL salary cap is going up, and it's going to continue to go up, and it's going to continue to go up. So by the end of that contract, I don't know that guaranteed contracts are going to be the realm, but the money is going to be, it's going to look like market value by the time this contract ends up, I think. Just because I think that there are some projections that have the salary cap going north of $300 million in the next 4 or 5 years. So that quarterback contract is going to be along the lines of what you expect to see. I know you wrote an article about this too. What do you think the Browns' identity will be with Deshaun Watson?
I don't know. I think that's kind of like the question of the hour, because for so long throughout this early portion of the season, I have been very adamant that I felt like, it's not like anybody would admit this, but as a bystander, somebody watching them, but who's here every day, it felt like their identity was kind of waiting for Deshaun Watson, that we'd see them run plays, for example, and be like, it wouldn't work out with Jacoby Brissett as the quarterback, but it would be like, oh, that'll be nice when Deshaun's back. But it's like, why are we running that? Like, why aren't we maybe tailoring things a little bit more to what we have on the field? I do think part of it is wanting to make sure all the other pieces of the offense were ready for when Deshaun Watson comes back, so it can maybe be a bit more of a seamless transition. But I do think they kind of have to figure out what they're going to look like with him. And again, it goes back to, I think, when Kevin Stefanski is calling those plays, designing this offense around Deshaun Watson, what's going to work well, how best can they utilize his processing, design runs for him, his ability in RPOs, all those things I think could help you and could help open up your run game, which given this team's strengths, that would be huge too. So I definitely think there's not an easy answer in terms of what their identity will be, but it's really, I think, a high priority that they need to figure out who they are with him and what they still need.
Yeah, and the next 6 games are, I agree with you, they're important for Kevin Stefanski from the standpoint of you have an elite quarterback now. How does an elite quarterback work in your offense? Because he hasn't had a guy like Deshaun Watson before.
No, this is really, I think, the first time, looking at even just his time in Cleveland, right? Like, this is the first time he's going to have his quote-unquote quarterback. Like, Baker Mayfield was not this regime's guy. Obviously, we know that. He was a holdover from the Dorsey years, obviously. But I do think that this, in that sense, there is a lot at stake for him. It's his best chance to kind of show what he has as a play caller. I think sometimes the biggest criticism of these Kevin Stefanski offenses these last 2 years especially have been this perceived like lack of creativity or predictability almost. I think when you have a quarterback who has the various skill sets that Deshaun Watson has, it makes it a little bit easier to avoid those pitfalls.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. He has the ability to make an average play call look pretty darn good. Ashley Bastock and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we'll continue talking Browns. Look a little bit closer at the Texans matchup. Sports for CLE. Be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Ashley Bastock, Browns beat reporter from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Let's take a listen to ESPN's KJM crew talking about, is Deshaun Watson still a top 5 quarterback?
Would you still guess that he's top 5?
I still say he's a top 5 talent.
I would guess he's no longer top 5. The question is...
But see, Max, I said top 5 talent.
I hear what you're saying, so he has to get back. Right,
yes.
Yeah. I don't know that he is. I don't know that he's a top 5 talent. Maybe.
I think
a lot of talented guys.
Here's what I'm going to say. Nothing's changed for him. Only thing's changed for him is a different team, different uniforms, different coaches,
better team,
in different environment. Remember, he's not hurt. So he didn't miss any time. He's still, over the last year and a half or so, even when he was going through all of what he was going through in the entire year that he set out leading up until he was traded to Cleveland, where he got to participate in mini camps and all that sort of stuff, he was doing football acclimated things. The speed of the game is the only thing that he has to get used to again. Flashing in front of him. As far as the skill set goes, he's probably gotten better because he's been able to fine-tune, along with Quincy Avery, his quarterback coach, some of the things he's been able to fine-tune that he didn't have a year and a half ago.
And Ashley, I've been covering the Browns since '88, and this guy has more talent as far as just physical ability than anybody that we'll see take a snap from center. Bernie Kosar was really good. Brian Sipe was really good. They weren't this type of athlete and that type of arm talent, quite honestly. They beat you with their brains.
Yeah, and I mean, again, that's kind of why I always say, like, when people ask, why did the Browns, go through all this to get Deshaun Watson? It's like, that's why. His physical abilities on top of his processing abilities, I think, are just what make him so good. And I kind of agree with that discussion in the sense that I don't think you don't lose that stuff, right? And I've actually wondered now for a while if the fact that he's been out for as long as he has, if that's going to actually potentially, we know the lifespan of quarterbacks in this league and of course how tough of a game it is on your body, if this is going to wind up actually prolonging his career, the time that he missed. And again, yeah, it's like he has all those physical attributes. He's still young, only 26 or 27, I forget off the top of my head. And I think that might, in the long run, actually help him. It's something we won't know until years from now and to get a feel for that. But it's true, he has been working with his quarterbacks coach. It's not like he's been sitting around doing nothing. And we won't know exactly all of what he's been doing until he talks to us, since he didn't speak to the media on Wednesday here in Berea. But I do think, that there is, in some ways for him, it's going to be like riding a bike. The biggest things are going to be just figuring out the Browns system and what he needs to do here and to get that chemistry down with new receivers, new running backs, a new offensive line, all that stuff.
And keep in mind, it's a guy that's played in the NFL, had success in the NFL. So game speed, it's not like the game's going to be too quick for him. He's just, again, he's got to get back into the rhythm of it. This is also kind of interesting. This is from a James Palmer tweet. So Texans running back Dameon Pierce has had just 8 yards rushing in each of the last 2 games. Still leads rookie running backs in rushing at 788 yards. That shows you how good he is. Browns defense, we know it's struggled. 135.5 yards, 23rd in the NFL. Denzel Ward talked about that defense building off of their performance against the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I think guys were making plays, executing. Communication was good, playing fast out there, physical. And I think everybody's just on the same page, and we're able to hold a great offense with Tom Brady and those guys, and hopefully we can build off that this week.
And Ashley, if they don't, it could be a long 6 games for that defense.
Yeah, I mean, like, this Texans team we know is not good, but Pierce has been a pretty good back so far. And I know Kevin Stefanski singled him out when he was talking about the Texans today. And I do think this is going to be an interesting test going against him to see, like, are some of these holes in this run defense fixed? The Browns did do a good job against the Bucs with that run defense. I have been thinking a lot about that 1 third down stop by JOK in particular. Asked him a little bit about that today and how this is going to, potentially translate for them. But I do think, you've heard multiple guys since that Bucs game say they feel like something is, or things are trending in the right way with this defense, and that maybe things are starting to come together. And if that ends up being the case, I think we'll point to the early season and preseason injuries that this defense had to deal with, and a lot of the key faces that were out for stretches of time. Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, Jadeveon Clowney, one of their best run stoppers, losing Anthony Walker Jr. against the Steelers the 3rd week of the season, losing Jacob Phillips, all these key guys who they have lost, who are still out or who missed chunks of time earlier. I think that really impacts the defense's chemistry. So I definitely think it's possible that this turnaround is for real. I'm a bit cautiously optimistic, I will say that it is, but I do think they need to kind of prove it on a regular basis and show that consistency that they talk about wanting to have.
Before I let you go, some keys to this one that you see.
I definitely think it's going to be about, more than anything, like I do think the Browns are going to win this game. Like, let's not get it twisted. I think they just are a better team than the Texans. It would have to be catastrophic, I think, for them to lose. But I do think it's going to be about seeing what Deshaun Watson looks like. I mean, that's the story. And how does he look with these receivers? And how is this offense gelling? And maybe to get some first ideas of how to fine tune. I mean, defensively, it's Dameon Pierce, I think, is going to be most important. And if they can continue those building blocks. But, I think everyone is kind of going into this game anticipating that Deshaun Watson returning to Houston is the biggest story. And we're going to get a look at how he's going to handle, all of this backlash that we know is going to be waiting for him when he takes the field for the first time in 700 days.
Ashley Bastock, Browns beat reporter from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com, as always. Thanks for the time and the insight. Appreciate it very much, Ashley.
Thanks.
All right, Ashley Bastock. Make sure you check him out. Browns beat reporter from the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow on Sports for CLE.